Welcome back! Today we're going to be trying a new style of video, this time looking at amateur comic artists instead of professionals who I personally believe deserve a bit more recognition and then maybe a step into the professional world. So without further ado, today we're going to be talking about Gino Smith on Instagram. If you mixed Joe Mad with a bit of Greg Capullo and a little dash of Philip Tan's rendering, I think you'd get Gino's work. And boy, is it good. So, without further ado, let's get into the learning. The overview. Now, Gino is clearly fine with getting his hands and desk covered in ink. He's absolutely awesome at his inking work. He's not shy, he's brave, he goes all out there. It's awesome. Speaking of not being shy about things, he creates large, complex scenes with vehicles and intricate backgrounds. And he's great at pushing characters' poses to make them extra dynamic. And lastly, I dread to think just how much whiteout this guy goes through in a week, because it's a lot. Poses and compositions. I absolutely love the bravery that Gino has with his work. A lot of his work feels like a cover or a splash page or a full page spectacle. He's clearly not afraid to push the boundaries of what exactly is possible from his pencil, and I absolutely love that wild, not taking the safe route approach. Speaking of not taking the safe route, he has absolutely no problem with foreshortening and perspective. And that is bravery that I can only dream of at the moment. If we look at this image of Deadpool from behind, if you were given the brief of view from behind, Deadpool standing in front, I definitely wouldn't have considered to put so much tension and bend to his body. You can see here his scapulars are incredibly intense and fully pulled back, with a great curve to his spine and hips. This is the sort of thinking that you see in professionals where they're pushing the poses, and it's something that I, maybe you, could definitely put in our work next. The details. Let's look at his Venom vs. Spider-Man piece. Here. Apart from the awesome composition and poses, what caught my eye was the tiny little details in the stained glass behind Venom. The fact that he added in other Spider-Man characters so subtly just adds to my appreciation. It's like finding an Easter egg. It's so very, very cool. Another piece that I love is this one of The Punisher. And the reason I love it is not for the way that I would traditionally think of adding detail myself. If we look at the guns in the background, they're silhouettes, but with small amounts of shading and a few highlights. It almost feels abstract, but because the light direction matches each gun with a uniform shape to all of them, I think it works great. Inking. Now let's look at this Sentinel vs. Magneto piece. I love the dramatic zigzag fade behind the Sentinel to draw your eye to the Juggernaut and the Sentinel's expression. That burst of white combined with a difference in texture to the explosion clouds to the right really helps lead our eye. Quite often for backgrounds he will use an ink wash with a wonderful diagonal texture, which is used to create clouds behind the character. And what this also does is act like a line of direction for our eyes to help guide us to what is important in the composition. Speaking of texture, look at this piece of Tigra versus Red Sonja. And see how many different textures there are. That branch and the moss is absolutely fantastic. And the reason it works is because of the stark difference between the direction of textures and the values itself. The moss is very bright with small curved ink lines to give the fluffy texture. Compare this to the harsh, long, non-tapered curved strokes of the branch and it creates a wonderful separation. Now, of course, I got Gino's permission for this video because if I'm going to be talking about somebody's work, I want them to be okay with it. And when I was chatting with Gino, I asked him, what advice would you give to other artists? So let's hear what he had to say. My goals for the near future are creating my first self-published comic and eventually landing a job at Marvel or DC. Specifically, I want to work on Thor, Spider-Man, and Batman. And who doesn't? That would be awesome. That was me, not Gino, by the way. My advice for other upcoming artists would be not to get discouraged by your own skill level. I think as artists, we tend to get frustrated whenever we see professionals draw almost effortlessly. But those same pros had so many years of practice in sketchbooks that we'll never get to see. Every line that you put down is a step towards your goal. I think it was Jim Lee that said, practice makes progress, not perfection. Oh, and one more thing, don't be afraid to post on social media. There are so many other great artists and opportunities out there. And that's it. We've done our very first amateur artist spotlight. Let me know what you thought of this video. Let me know if there's any artists out there. Maybe you're an artist that you think I could do with a few more followers or a shot at something. Let me know down in the comments below. I had a great time just browsing Instagram artists, getting inspiration for my own and seeing other people's skill level. So until next time, keep on sketching.